I'm just gonna hear me say ha ha a bunch of times. And that'll be it. That'll be the intro.
I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Random Podcast. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm shining a light on my face, and it's supposed to help me be more creepy.
Like a tiny little flashlight as well.
Today, I am joined by Alex. Hello, Alex. How was your day today?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Ghost of Uncle Fester.
I'm not Uncle Fester.
Pretty nice.
I'd be cousin.
I mean, if you shaved your head,
I would look amazing with a shaved head. No, I don't. I think I have one of those weird shaped heads.
I do too.
Everyone has weird shaved heads.
But some heads look good bald, and other ones like mine will look like a fucking goblin, like from Chernobyl.
Don't bring down the bald heads, Ali. Come on now, we're better than that. And I'm also joined by the juiciest ass in all of Sweden. It's Ali, ladies and gentlemen. Ali.
Where the fuck did you get that information from?
Hey, right. Look, I try to squeeze juice out of it pretty regularly.
You probably succeed
I hate
afterwards.
You guys. Hello, you people.
Yeah, if you think this episode sounds pretty weird, it's because I've been ass deep in aliens all week, and it's not been fun because I got 18 pages full of information, which will not be able to get through in one episode.
Jesus
and I
Christ.
Will be fucked if I'm doing 2 episodes on this. So fuck everybody who came here for information. You ain't getting any. You're getting the tip of the dick and nothing else.
Yeah, go research it yourself, you lazy bastard.
Do it, fucking assholes. Look, I hate every one of you because I have to do this now. I basically decided to do this by myself, but I still blame everybody who's listening because I want to make good content. And I did, but we're not going to hear it all. Literally 18 pages of information about one UFO event.
Jesus. I mean, if you get through 4 pages, I'll be amazed.
I will probably get through 3 or 5. That'll be. But I did contact the defense of Belgium.
Who told you to fuck off?
No, they just sort of, as my exes did, stopped talking to me and pretend I don't exist. And that's what they did. They were like a very like crude ex that does not want to talk to you anymore because they're done with my shit at this point. Asking, it's the alien guy again.
Like, oh god, Andy's contacting. Fuck's sake! Like, you're the first name guy. Like, they know you by your name. Like, not your last name. They're just like Andy. Like, fuck that guy.
It's just they don't. Yeah, it's fucked. But like, the reason I contact the Belgium Ministry of Defense is basically I was going to do an episode on all the alien species there are. But, Boots, I think you can fucking type that into Google and that'll be it. What I did decide to do, however, because there are not so many, there's like the Draconians, there's the Greys, there's the Tall Greys, the Nordics, the Reptilians, which are our overlords in the government, by the way, if you don't believe me. So I thought, like, all right, so what's the next step? We've been through the information. We've been through the disinformation. We've been through several subjects in which the government is proven to hide something to the public. So we know that the government is lying. We know that the government now has finally come out and said, like, hey, these aren't UFOs. They're vehicles made not on this world, which is actually a line they used in the Pentagon. Finally, they admitted, like, okay, this isn't from here. They still don't know what the fuck it is, but like they admitted it at least. And so I thought, okay, so what is the next step into changing people's minds into starting to believe that aliens might be an actual thing here on our planet? Not just in outer space, but here on our planet, which is the main focus of my investigation, quote unquote, investigation, aka waste of fucking time.
Being told, fuck off, and then never hear from them again.
Yeah. But like, that's my focal point. My focal point is to, like, what happens here on Earth? What would be important to us? So I could still believe, after everything we've gone through, that there are still some people skeptical about the whole situation. And you can't say, no, that's not true to one person. But then I started thinking, so what's the undisputable factor in all of the alien bullshit that's on the internet? Right? Because you got like, a fucking YouTube video of a flashing light in Florida sky, and it's like a meth head that invented the weather balloon that he's now flying himself. I mean, it is Florida, so he's definitely going to be using
He's
that.
actually a dealer as well.
Yeah, probably.
He's a dealer that uses his own product.
Selling it from the sky.
Yeah, it's like, the police will never find me, man.
Yeah.
What if I just fly to your house, dude?
It's like the
They don't have police in the sky.
There's no sky police. Oh shit, Space Force! Trump thought of it.
Oh,
fuck!
There's Space Force, but if he doesn't go into space, he might be okay.
Yeah, he's in
As long as he stays in the atmosphere.
The in-between police does not yet exist.
Exactly.
But, so I was thinking, like, what is the next step in all of this? Well, it's basically mass sightings. You probably all heard of mass sightings of UFOs and stuff like that. One of the main example which I refuse to discuss is the Phoenix Lights, which Google it is basically gonna be the main theme of this episode. I
think you briefly mentioned it in the first part of this, in the disinformation episode as well.
It's over 5,000 eyewitnesses witnessed something in the sky over the Phoenix area. And you can basically, if you took an aerial map photograph, you can basically follow the line of where this vehicle was traversing to by the phones that came into the police department, because like at 9:21 it was over there, and at 9:25 it was over there, and like 10:30 there was a phone call coming in from that area. So you can track a line of everybody in between that entire area, and there were a lot of fucking people down there, let me tell you that. So yeah, it's just a mass sighting of a UFO. But I believed it was more interesting to talk about my own country because in Belgium, 2 F-16s were deployed to intercept whatever was in the sky and was scaring people. It's a lesser known case, but I don't get why it's lesser known. It should be more known because there was actually military intervention. And so we'll come back to this later, but that is the reason why I reached out to the Ministry of Defense and the Belgian Army, if I may add. I pissed off 2 government branches. Thank you very much.
Good job, Andy.
I hope they never bring in conscription, because you know the first name on their list is like, get this guy in. We need to like put him through his paces.
Well, if I ever miss a Sunday on this podcast, everybody will know why. Winkety wink. I just winked at my microphone for no apparent reason. All right, so let's get into
That's where the
this.
listeners are.
The listeners will know. Our listeners will know.
Because they're smart.
They are. Otherwise, they would be listening to other podcasts with content that is might be good or maybe not. All right, let's get into this. All right, so during a routine patrol between the 2 small villages of Kettenis and Merrells, there is a driver in a, I don't know what you would call it. There's like, you have the police, right? Actually, I think it would be good if I Americanize this. So you have the police force, and then you have the state troopers.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, the state troopers are all across the state, and like police forces are per city, basically, right? So,
Kind of like ordningsvakter in Sweden. Okay.
yeah, well, we used to have the same thing.
You don't know
Now,
what an ordningsvakt is. Do you know what an ordningsvakt is?
I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking
No,
now.
but like state police is state troopers literally like the state's police.
Okay.
And then you have like the city or local county has their own like police force.
Okay.
That's basically what we had. So there were police that was only responsible for the city of where I live, and then you go to a next city and there's another police force there. Right, so this was back in the early 90s, late 80s, something like that. All right? So they're driving around in their van, and this really intense light spot on like a meadow-like thing to their right. It was by a gigantic passway that's called the N68. It's like a big road. And the bright light, it sort of reminded them at the bright lights of a football stadium. So to give you an idea of how bright it might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
fucking
pretty,
bright lights.
Yeah, it was fucking bright. So the other police officer that was sitting there, that was on the lighting side, so at where the light was, he opens the window of his patrol car and sees to his amazement a gigantic platform, immovable in the sky. So what they did is they slowed down and they kept driving, which is, there's not a lot of people on the road around that time because it was like sort of towards the night, it was like 9, 10-ish.
Don't lie, Belgium just uses horse and cart.
Back in that time, like, cars weren't that plentiful, actually. Like, there were a lot of cars, but, like, not that much. Not like it is now. But anyway, so they slow down, and both the police officers can now see more details of what is going on their right side. Now, underneath the platform, they see 3 ginormous spotlights. These are like in a circular way around the triangular shaped object. So this is a platform, triangular shaped, that has 3 lights, right?
Like on each point sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the policemen estimated it was at a height of 120 meters, which isn't that high. You should be able to hear engines and shit like that. And guess what? It didn't make any sound. Right?
Yeah.
And so they listened. They have their windows down. They should be hearing sounds, and they didn't. The 3 lights had each a diameter of about 1 meter. So that's like this.
Yeah. It's like what? 3 feet for an American?
I don't know.
3 feet-ish? A yard. A yard is basically a meter.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like 96 centimeters or something.
69. That's all I heard when you said that. In the middle of the triangle, they see a red blinking light. Now, people that know the story of the Phoenix lights in the sky should probably note that this sounds familiar. Which triangular-shaped object, 3 lights, 1 blinking, 1 in the middle, has come up in different sightings throughout history. So that right there is already very peculiar, that it does come in different countries and blah, 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 blah. The triangle had a supposed, because like this is all from seeing from a distance, so it's not going to be accurate, but this triangle had a supposed basis of around 30 to 35 meters. When the cops put their vehicles at a complete stop, the triangle begins to move with a speed of around 50 kilometers per hour. Suddenly, it stops, starts to spin, and it flies off in the direction of Eupen, which is a different city. Now, these policemen, they can, with their police patrol car, stay with the object in question somewhat You know, this is 50
Yep.
kilometers an hour isn't that hard to follow with a car. It's
No,
like,
exactly.
you know, base speed, let's just say. But in the meantime, they're seeing different witnesses to this weird object. So they're coming across people left and right that came out of their homes, people that stopped their car on the road, and they're looking at it. Meantime, so imagine this is a fucking movie scene. These guys are following something they don't know, and people are actually coming out of their houses. So they're sitting there like thinking like, what the fuck is going on? Because let's not forget, even police officers are fucking just humans with a gun attached to their hips. There's nothing more to
just
them than
people.
that. What?
They're just people.
Yeah, they're just people. So if they're
Like
going to meet an alien...
my cousin's husband is a policeman, and I've seen him change diapers. He's very human.
What if he's a cyborg, like an android?
He kind of is, though. He's super sweet in that sense. So he's like super robot. Okay, sorry.
Thanks for that random fact.
All right, so according to some people that were witness to this, because more and more people started calling into the police office and around that time because they were seeing something they didn't know. So, according to these people, it flew right above the houses. So it basically lowered itself to where it was right above the houses. The police officers that were following it, they stopped for a second in a, I don't know what you call it. It's like a military installation. There's a military installation in Eupen. I don't know if it's a military installation. It's called, because we call it a Kaserne, which is basically just a place for soldiers to sleep. It's nothing more than that. It's
like a barrack.
Yeah, well, not one
Sort of
barrack.
thing.
It's like a field. It's an actual field.
Yeah.
But like it's militarily installed, and like you can like military personnel sleeps there and like does small
and has like
drills.
fences around it, and you can't go in there or you'll be shot.
It's not a big facility, is what I'm saying. It's just a place for them to rest and do some exercises. So at that point, when they got out into that facility, the UFO was hanging for 45 minutes, unmovable, above a lake. Now, water and UFOs have been linked together a couple of times in the past as well, but it's not like anything substantial that should be known about that. The only thing that we do know is that sometimes they are in the water. Basically, other than that, this one just stayed there for 45 minutes, just hovering.
Like above the water, though, not...
Yeah, above this, what's called a stuwmeer. It's basically like a dammed lake.
Yep.
The distance to where the UFO was hovering away from cities and shit like that was roughly like 4 kilometers. So it's outside of the city, yet not that far, and definitely with the brightness of that light still seeable.
Yeah.
Yep.
They basically see a light orb from that distance, and the red beams from the
middle.
Yeah,
whatever.
from the middle globe. At like 6:45, another police officer from that same place, through the first window on the first floor, saw how that light orb suddenly at high velocity just shoots across the sky. Now, on that same moment that this guy sees it at the stewing dam in Gillette.
And this is in the morning, right? Like 6 in the morning.
No, this is nighttime. This is dark.
Oh, okay.
This is like end of the year. It's already dark because like 7 o'clock at night is like it's winter. It's dark. Hence why they could see it so well as well. Now, at the same moment at the stewing dam in Gillette, a second triangle was shooting by. Now, according to the witnesses that saw this triangle had a dome with square windows. Now, the light orb stayed until like 7:23, so very roughly 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And the red light effects, they slowly go out. So the middle sphere slowly go out. And the UFO, it just slowly kept flying towards Spa after the 45 minutes of staying there silent. Now, there's a lot of curious people that were armed with cameras and like video cameras, and they went posting out on the lake, hoping to see another one.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them really succeeded to get a clear image of the actual object that was flying.
Yeah.
But what needs to be said, though, is that a UFO that stayed in the same place for 45 minutes, I mean, in this case, the light source was continuously seen. So a UFO that stayed in place for 45 minutes, like that one above the dam in Gillette, it does point towards the direction of an astronomical explanation, like like UFO. It doesn't immediately. There's not a single craft on this planet that would, for no reason, hang somewhere for 45 minutes and do absolutely nothing.
And that wouldn't make a shitload of noise.
And it would make a shitload of noise, exactly.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, somewhere else in the sky, at 11 December of the year 89, there were 21 well-documented reports. Now, with these sightings, there were 5 provinces of the French-speaking part of Belgium involved. So 5 fucking big districts where different people called in. And one of the most important witnesses came from Lieutenant Colonel André Amont and his wife. They saw from their car, they saw the triangular UFO. Amont sent, so again, it's a triangular. It's the same craft,
a theme.
basically. Yeah. I'm not gonna bullshit around it. It's the same fucking craft they saw on another date. He saw this craft flying over, and he took note, and he immediately sent it to the Minister of Defense in Belgium. Now, in the night of 16 to 17 December, so that's 5 days later, again, after a lot of people saw a weird object in the sky, different fucking gendarmerie and patrol officers and police were actually sent to go take a look. And at 11 o'clock at night, even 2 F-16s were scrambled up in the sky to see what the craft was. Right?
Maybe they were sending E.T. back to Earth because they had enough of his shit.
Probably. But here's the thing, though. It's the whole Phoenix Lights thing. It had people calling in. And yes, it had credible people to look into and blah, 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 blah. Because there were air traffic controllers out on their porch in that night in Phoenix just hanging out and seeing this craft and saying, like, it is way too low and it is not making sounds. How is this possible? So there's credible sources there to keep an account that they did see something that wasn't from this earth.
Yeah.
But
unlike the Belgian one, because no one can trust the Belgian people.
You can trust the Belgian because Belgians at least have fucking evidence. And that is why I thought it was important to discuss this case instead of the Phoenix Lights.
And also, this is over multiple days. And
this is over multiple days.
Even.
But I'm going to go even further. The main one in Belgium was end of the 80s and beginning of the 90s. There was this UFO fucking wave for a year, 2 years on end, where people saw shit that wasn't quite right. But that wasn't the only time that happened in Belgium. In the 70s, a similar thing happened. The only thing then is that they didn't use military force. I picked this specifically because the military force was involved, and I'll explain why I specifically wanted to use this in a bit. There is reasoning behind it, believe it or not. So, the hunt from the F-16s. Let's talk about that for a second. It wasn't just a one night, as we discussed. It was roughly the most active period would be December 89. That was the most active period, where 2 F-16s were involved in chasing and locking onto what is now known as this UFO. But so the reason the military of Belgium decided to use two F-16s was because on March 30th in 1990, there was another group of police officers that saw UFOs, and they wanted to get on that. It was because of like December, that whole period.
Yeah.
When they saw it, and later in the following year, they were like, all right, so this is happening again. We need to get on this right now. And so they decided to send out two F-16 combat airplanes from Bivacom. Of the whole F-16 incident, there was a report that was released to one Dr. R. Lambers, major with the Belgian Air Force. Some passages out of that report, they give a little more insight to what happened that particular night. So the night in question that we're going to talk about is the night they send out the two F-16s.
Yep.
And I was able to find not very much, but
surprise.
yeah, but I was able to talk to somebody that wasn't willing to come on the show, but he did give me a little some.
Blowjobs don't count, Andy.
He gave me the transcripts of the actual airplanes.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. All right. Before I start on that, because I think that's really interesting, I contacted the Ministry of Defense in Belgium, saying, hey guys, I'm doing a podcast on this subject. I was wondering if there was an incident over the skies in that date, blah, 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 around that time. And they said, yes, there was an incident back then at that time. I was like, okay, very cool. So this has been more than 15 years, and there is a rule in Belgium that if something is older than 15 years, then it should be disclosed.
Yeah.
Basically, to the public. So I brought up this law, and I said, well, could I take a peek into this exact, like, can you send me the data of what was seen that night of the F-16s and blah, 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 blah. So that I would genuinely get, like, I was hoping to get the communication between the air traffic controllers and the F-16s.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping to get transcripts or like audio or whatever was available, even like radar footage, whatever. It's more than 15 years. It should be available to the public. But somehow they decided that should be in a part of destroyed documents. They basically set it on fucking fire, is what they did. At least that's what they claim. I don't know if it's true or not.
Probably not.
It's probably classified and they just tell the public we destroyed it, but they've got it, like, another copy somewhere in someone's desk.
I'm pretty sure
my
it's illegal to
answer
destroy
to that
legal
was-
documents.
Excuse me?
Then I'm pretty sure it's not legal to destroy that sort of
No,
evidence.
if it can be deemed as a threat to, like, national security, I'm pretty sure they can do whatever they want.
Well, I didn't do anything that night, so I don't know if you could claim it as a threat to national security.
But the government, to stop people, like, looking, could just make that argument.
Probably.
Yeah.
Just like, we don't, no, it's a threat to our security. Well, it's classified and we destroyed it. Whoops.
Yeah. All right. So what I did said after that was, after I got the email of like, hey, we destroyed the documents, my response to that was, well, isn't it a little bit weird that you would see an unidentified possible hostile craft above Belgium airspace and then choose not to hold this information until something like that happens again, so you can look back to it? Like, that seemed odd to me, that they wouldn't in the idea or in the mindset of, oh, let's just hold on to that because that was weird. Let's just hold on to that for a while. If something like that ever happens, then we can compare, like, is it the same thing or blah, 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 blah. Like, isn't it weird? No fucking answer. Just nothing.
Andy, I just need to be honest with you. They just don't want to share that shit with you.
Yeah, I know.
They absolutely have copies of that.
But fuck them.
And then we're trying to make content here.
No,
these fucking idiots?
I'm just pointing out that again in this case, and this is directed at us. There is disinformation. Like I'm 90% sure I agree they have that shit, but they just don't want to share it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I did get to. I can't say a lot about him because he genuinely didn't want to be like involved in this and blah 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 blah. But I can allow. I am more than allowed to say that he is from the former gendarmerie, which is a police force in Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
He was at that time present and had people that he knew in the Belgium Army, where he was stationed at the same place as to where it hovered for 45 minutes over that lake. So he was sleeping there at the time, and he was an active member. He actually went there that night. There were a couple of people there, so he was one of the main characters of the story, quote unquote. But so through him, I got a recollection of anything that happened on March 30th, and that's what we're gonna cover.
In 1990, was it?
In 1990, yeah.
Yep.
So at 11 o'clock at night, Master Controller of the CRC, Glance, he gets a telephone from, let's call him Police Officer A, who claims that from his place of where he sleeps that night in Ramelier, he saw 3 peculiar lights, and they were going to Torambois Jean Bleu. Sounds made up, but it's not. It's a real place. The lights were, according to the man, brighter than stars of planets and didn't move. The lights, they formed a equal like triangle. It says basically the lights, they formed a triangle and they sometimes changed colors. So that's 11 o'clock. 11:05, CRC asks the police officer from Waiver to go to the scene and to confirm that what has been seen was actually there or not. So very important. First, they go look and they say like, oh, this is definitely worth something or not. All right, skip forward 10 minutes. 11:15, a new phone comes in from Police Officer A. The 3 other lights are moving towards the first mentioned triangular shape. Now, CRC, they see a unidentified contact on their radar 5 kilometers north of the airfield of Beauvaisin. Now, at 11:28, a patrol officer with Captain Pinson, one of the bigger people in that area at that time, is at the scene. So the captain actually got out of bed, because usually captains were sleeping soundly at night. They weren't the ones doing the late shifts.
Yeah.
But the captain got out of bed, went to the actual scene, and confirms the story of Officer A. And he describes the sighting and the object as like the light points have the same dimensions as from a big star. They are much brighter than the other stars. They change color: red, blue, green, yellow, and white.
Dude, these aliens have RGB.
They probably haven't.
My God. They're gamer aliens.
So 11:30 to 11:45, 3 new light points. They join with the first visible light points in the triangle formation. Now, what I think is important to that is in the Phoenix lights, they again were flying in the same formation. It's triangle formations. It's triangle flying in a triangles, basically.
Yep, so each craft is 3 craft, and each craft has their own triangle of lights.
Yes,
and
exactly.
then together they make a bigger triangle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So CRC stays the first witnessed lights. They track them on the radar. They stay with them. So 11:49 to 11:59, TCC/RP Semmerzake, which is a different dispatching unit from the military, confirms that indeed there has been radar contact on the same position as the CRC witnessed them. So we have 2 verifying radar verifications and 1 at the scene that's saying like, holy shit, there's something going on here.
Yep.
And these are all like police officers. Now it starts to trickle down to military stuff. Like the moment this TCC/RP comes in, that's higher epsilon. Definitely.
Yeah.
They give a scramble order through on 1JW. I don't know what that is, but that happened at 11:56. Now, they kept tracking and looking at these lights. Everything on this, by the way, is March 30th. So they kept tracking on those lights. They stayed around there from 11:45 to 12:15 at night. Now, the light points were clearly visible from the ground. Their position amongst each other, they don't change. They keep the triangle formation constantly. And it seems to be moving rather slowly, as you would... If you looked further up and to the stars, you would see that the stars were standing still and that these objects were slowly moving forward. So that's how they saw. So, yeah. Eyewitnesses from the ground also stated that the lights once in a while would give like short light signals. They don't know if it was to each other, if it was signaling something towards the earth. They don't know. And in the meantime, there's also 2 new, more feeble-like light points in another direction. These were making short and like steady movements.
Mm-hmm.
So there were definitely 5 objects. This is including people calling in to the police. At the times they were witnessing them. Military saw them. People on the ground saw them. There was police officers confirming the sighting. So this wasn't just an isolated small fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like quite widespread.
This is widespread. There's a lot of people at this point involved. Anyway, they fuck off. They just go at one point. Nobody sees anything. Nobody knows where they are. They're just gone. Skip forward one night, March 31st, 1990. At 12:05, they send out 2 F-16s between 12:07 and 12:54. By these F-16s, they tried 9 times to intercept the UFOs.
Jesus.
9 times.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. For an F-16 to be that high above its own airspace, by the way, and to, keep trying to intercept these things and not succeeding. The airplanes itself, several times they made like brief radar contact on the CRC, on the targeted aircrafts.
Yep.
In 3 of those cases, the pilots succeeded to lock on their radar to the specific target, so to the UFOs. They were able to lock on. Mm-hmm. Now, lock on in an F-16 basically allows you to get information from that airplane. Its diameter, it's like what it's sending out. It's sending out any signals, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
If there was anything to know from that airplane by locking onto it, you'd be able to like sort of map what this aircraft is or looks like. Depending on that, you would be able to make a sketch like, oh, it's that sort of aircraft. We were dealing with that enemy.
Yeah,
basically is what it is. So
I just want to add one bit of info here.
Yeah.
The top speed of an F-16 is 1,500 miles per hour, which is like the upper end of Mach 2.
Yeah.
So like they're not slow.
Yeah. Definitely not, because not in a single 9 attempts that they made, they had visual contact with the UFOs. They were that fast.
Wouldn't they like be across Belgium in like 5 minutes at that speed?
Dude, they were flying left and right. It's not. They probably stayed around the same area, but these guys kept evading them. Now, to have a genuine lock on, you have to have approximately the same speed or a certain amount of distance between you and the aircraft to actually make that lock on and to be like, blip, okay, you got it. And then you have to move forward while the aircraft is hanging still. If the aircraft is hanging still and you're moving at top speed, then it's going to be very difficult to lock on. And if you're locking on, you'll only be able to lock on for a couple of seconds. Now, if that aircraft suddenly shifts very quickly and moves around, you're going to lose that lock on. And whatever data was being transferred is going to be lost.
Yep.
So at 013, the first lock on a on one of the UFOs, its speed of the target changes in a fraction of a second of 150 knots. So 150 knots to 970 knots. This is, if that's a human inside there, at a fraction of a second,
dead.
It's not possible for a human from 150 to 970. And not only that, it changed altitude from 9,000 feet to 5,000 feet, back to 11,000 feet, to descend to ground level after that.
So they're just being pricks, like, you can't get me.
Can you imagine? You know how people feel woozy when they go on a carnival of that thing that shoots up and then just quickly brings you back down and then shoots up again, like that short moment? Can you imagine that with a couple of 1,000 feet in between? You'd black out at the very fucking least.
Yep. Even a pilot would like an Air Force pilot would black out from that.
Yeah, the most the most weird thing is that exact movement results in break lock every time. So it's not only weird that it can reach those speeds at such a short time, it also it has a purpose. It's breaking that lock on that they were trying to do. So if those UFOs had a way of knowing that they were locked on, which our aircrafts have that, it wouldn't be too weird to assume that an UFO would have that.
No, exactly.
And to know how to break that lock on, after a couple of seconds, it just results in a break lock. And the pilots, they lose radar contact. The CRC did report this, that the moment they knew they lost it, because like the CRC were saying like, oh, you're flying over it now. They were like, what the fuck? We didn't see anything. People on the ground still saw something, by the way.
Yep.
So this is what the first lock on was at 013. Next part is 019 to 030. TCC and the CRC have lost radar contact with one of the UFOs. And once in a while, there's being like a small blip of contact in another area, but it's like it's not sufficient enough to make a clear track of what they're doing. Yeah, because like it's going all so fast at this point. Like they're going left and right, up and down. Like there's no way for F-16s to know where the fuck they are because they're moving that fucking fast. Now at 030, eyewitnesses on the ground see the F-16 fly over 3 times. Now, during these 3 flyovers or flybys, whatever you want to call them, they see the airplane circle the first attempted large triangle. So this is like the main one. Mm-hmm. On that same moment, they see the disappearance of the small triangle. This as it goes to the western point of the large triangle, it shoots forward. They don't know by the way that it moved if it was forward toward or like forward and up. Like that was apparently very hard to witness for the people on the ground. Yeah. But it just vanishes into thin air. Just shoots up and gone. Yep. Like not in the sky anymore.
Like hyperspace.
Yeah. It's just like it's not a beam of light. It's just zip. Yep. That's it.
Chewie just put them into hyperspace and they just off they go.
So at that point, only the brighter light point in the west of the triangle is still being seen. Now the radars on CRC have a contact on 7,000 feet at 032. The object moves with a great velocity in a certain direction, and the control center in Maastricht has no radar contact with this UFO, which is weird because it was flying towards there, and Maastricht is basically in the Netherlands, which is our like fellow neighbors. It was flying towards there, and they couldn't see it, but the CRC had it definitely on their radar. They had it blimped.
Yeah.
So again, there's like something going on. Now the CRC, they confirm a contact at 10,000 feet at a very high acceleration at 039 to 041 of going from 100 knots to 600 knots this time. They have a lock on, and it lasted again a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Like, it's going speeds at this point that, on occasion, the airplanes and the CRC itself is losing it off of their radar. It's going that fast that even a radar couldn't fucking tag what it was. So if you had doubts if human beings could survive the speeds, if it's going too fast for fucking radar, you're not going to survive if you're in that. This is not human anymore. This is no possibility of it being human anymore.
Yeah. Well, 600 knots is 1,111 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Like that's
Jeez.
yeah. So
Yeah.
900 knots is what, like 1,600 or something.
Yeah, at one point he made 970 knots.
Jesus, what? Like, I just have to. That's 1,796 kilometers per hour.
Dead.
That's like a jet. That's a jet going from 0 to top speed basically in like point something of a second.
Yeah. At 047, Rapcon, I don't know what Rapcon is. Rapcon of Beauvais reports radio contact at a height of 6,500 feet. Now, I want you to take aware, through all this time, it's going like 7,000 feet, up to 10,000 feet, then down to 6,500. To which they smartly, they took in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
The F-16s, they got the message that they were at 6,500 feet. They were like, all right, let's level with this. They were at the same position, and they passed it through the CRC, and between 0:45 and 1, there were several attempts to keep, they kept making attempts to intercept the UFOs. The airplanes every time get like very brief radar contact, and the eyewitnesses on the ground see the last remaining UFO disappear in the direction of Louvain-la-Neuve at approximately 1 at night. The UFO is completely vanished.
Yep.
At 1:02, hoping to see something else, they stay around for like 2 more minutes, and then both F-16s, they leave the frequency of the CRC, and they return to base. The last remaining sightings of the actual UFOs, because this was tracked from radar to radar, from flight base to flight base, like they were tracked as long as they flew. Total, they were a report of 4 UFOs that night, 4 different objects that night, and they ended up at around all of them. Oddly enough, they weren't flying together. All of them exactly at around 1:30, they just lost their clarity and disappeared into thin air. To this day, it is not known what happened in the skies at 30, like March 30 and 31, but it is more than clear that whatever it was, it has definite evidence within the military installation of Belgium that there was something there that was fucked up, and that it genuinely did happen.
Yep.
And there's no plane in existence that can do what these vehicles did.
Or a person. I mean,
or a person
you couldn't even make the argument that it's robotic because like we didn't have good enough technology back then to make a craft that quick and that nimble.
I know. So this is one of those cases that is undisputable. That happened. There's genuine evidence.
Unless
there's evidence of unless what?
You guys put a lot of LSD in the water around that time.
That could be a possibility.
And the whole country was just tripping balls.
Now, at that point, like from what I've heard and read, there's like more than 500 people that call into the police department and shit like that.
Yeah.
There was a lot because this all happened over around the Brussels area.
Mm-hmm.
Brussels is the main capital of Belgium. Like it's the capital of Belgium. There's a lot of fucking people living there.
Yeah.
And these were like people that these weren't just city folk. These were farmers and shit like that. This was more in the open than you would think. It was like it wasn't just I can't explain it. It wasn't regular folk. It was people being out at night working and shit like that. So
Yeah.
if a gendarmerie or a police officer starts following something in the sky, it's probably because it's a little bit weird. Like that was one thing, that they opened their window and there was no sound. Next to that, like the fact that they used like that is confirmed, by the way. The fact that they drove at 50 kilometers an hour, they drove next to this craft and didn't know what it was. They just saw the three lights and the red one in the middle and blah 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 blah. All that has been confirmed. Like there's no no. It's fucking no. It's been confirmed. The speed's been confirmed because of the lock-ons. They didn't get enough data from that, but they could see the speeds. On radar, they had the same speeds that were confirmed again.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, they're pulling it out of their ass. No, they were. They had 2 points of reference to measure the speed it was going at, and it was signing off at the altitude as well. They could see on the radars that it was like the lock-on just lost it. So that means a drastic change in height difference. So again, I'm gonna say this for the third or fourth time now. If you still don't believe, I mean, there's actual cases out there with evidence. I don't know how clearer I can make it for people that there is an actual thing out there that we don't yet understand. I'm not gonna say it's aliens. It could be something else, but
It's
aliens.
Weird. Yeah.
And it is them. No, it's the most obvious choice if you look at what it all like, how it's. I don't know. It's incredible. I don't get how this case doesn't have more of a standing within the UFO community.
Yeah.
It's not in the US or the UK, probably.
Because genuinely, out of all the cases I've seen, besides the Arizona lights, this one probably has a lot of fucking evidence to it.
Yeah, it's probably as well, like, I guess most of the information's in, like, French or, like, Dutch or Flemish, right? So, like, it's harder for me to go and just Google it and be like, what in the fuck is this? Like, I can't like, at least if it's in, like, the US or the UK, you're like, yeah, I can, like, read this. And, like, the mass media, let's face it, is mostly, like, US-centric, so...
Yeah, but I wonder if there's more data like that. And Belgium can't be the only one. We're a shit country when it comes to our army.
I doubt it.
You can fucking probably take over our entire army with an ice cream spoon if you wanted to. Like, it's the Belgian fucking army. We're not that sophisticated. There has to be more data like that. Like, it got me wondering, with the Arizona lights, why wasn't there ever military intervention? There was something in American airspace. Why not send an airplane out there and go check it out?
Maybe they knew about it. Maybe they were expecting them.
Are these cops like, oh, we'll send a patrol? Like, in Belgium, at least, they had the common sense to be like, oh, well, there's something in our skies. Well, we can't reach that. Let's find somebody who can. Oh, right, the fucking military. Blah, blah, blah. Can you check that out? Yep, sure, we're gone. Zoom, you know? Maybe America's more like, oh, there's something in the sky. We'll get the sky police to do it.
It's someone else's job. It's not mine. I'm finishing in 10 minutes. Fuck this. I'm going home.
Where's my sandwich? Yeah, I don't know. It seems to me like reading through that whole transcript, it got me thinking, like, how is there not more evidence? Like, Belgium cannot be the only one.
Yeah. I highly doubt it.
It is interesting to say the least.
Sure.
So, yeah. So that's me for evidence. Like, if I do something else on aliens, I'll probably run you through the more weird shit. I just want to get rid of this subject right now. I've done 3 episodes on it. I'm done. Maybe I'll recap it in some, like, a later time. Yeah. For now, Andy out.
The next one, he'll do something completely ridiculous. Like funny, stupid, though.
I have the best subject. All and right. I'm keeping you in mind, my friend. We're gonna make a fucking metal episode like you won't believe.
All right, let's do it.
You'll love it.
Nice.
All right. Well, that is it. That is it for UFOs for now. I'll probably revisit with. I want to do Betty and Barney Hill and the Roswell incident. There's so much information, but for now, like, I'm done with it. So yeah, that's it. If you want to find it, there's definitely a lot of information about the Belgium UFO incident. If you want to find it on Google, you can definitely type it in. It's very interesting to read. It's very interesting to see how many people were involved and how many people were actually, cared about our airspace enough to fucking try and figure out what this was.
Yeah.
But we didn't end up finding a lot of that were answers. We found more questions, I guess. So, I don't know. That being said, if you missed out on the lighty thing I did on my face, if you want to see that by next week, then come the Discord channel, which is a link you can click in the description. I promise you, if we get one new person in our Discord server, I'll shine not one, but 2 lights on my face.
Oh, damn.
No, you're taking it too far.
12 seconds.
It's like a very precise time.
Yeah.
Just 12 seconds. Why not?
12 seconds.
Why not 13?
And if you want to see, pictures that we post, then go to our Instagram, and Ali is gonna keep us updated on what is the Instagram, Ali?
Is @random.podcast. So @random.podcast.
And of course, if Instagram is not your vibe, then you can always go to our Twitter. What is our Twitter handle?
Our Twitter is @_randompod. So that is @_randompod.
All right, and I'm very happy to be done with aliens. We, by the way, reached page 5 of all the shit that I have written.
Pretty good guesstimation, though.
Yeah, so go to our Patreon where you can listen to me rambling on for 18 pages. No, we're not doing that. That would sell.
No.
All right, well, on that lovely note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for listening. I want to thank you so much for keeping up with all this UFO and alien bullshit. They're real, they're out there, but we don't give a fuck. We just want their technology because we're assholes and parasites and we all deserve to die. That being said, I want to thank you so much for listening. I love you all, and I hope you have a good week. Show some titties.
Flop those things out and just milk them.
Oh, I just thought of that image Matthias drew yesterday.
Batman, just say goodbye.
Bye.
Wait, we oh, okay, bye.
Bye.